The popular image of prehistoric life is a constant, grinding fight for survival in a world with no patience for weakness. The moment your knees gave out or your eyesight blurred, supposedly being the moment nature collected its debt. Yet fossil evidence consistently shows elderly individuals across prehistoric populations worldwide, people with severe arthritis, healed fractures, and worn-down teeth, living into their 40s, 50s, and in documented cases, their 60s and 70s, in a world with no hospitals, no antibiotics, and no retirement plan. How did they manage it? The myth of everyone dying at 30, the claim that prehistoric people only lived to around 25 gets repeated constantly, and the raw average life expectancy figure, somewhere around 30 to 35 years, seems to back it up. But that average is almost entirely dominated by catastrophic child mortality. In the Paleolithic era, between 30 and 45% of children died before age 15, most within the first 5 years of life, from infections antibiotics now clear easily, parasites, accidents, and starvation during bad seasons. Folding that tidal wave of early death into a single average produces a misleading figure. The children who survived that brutal gauntlet entered adulthood with hardened immune systems and bodies fully capable of carrying them much further into life. Researchers Michael Gervin and Hillard Kaplan analyzed hunter-gatherer populations and found that those who survived to age 15 had a modal age of death between 68 and 78, meaning the most common age at which adult survivors actually died was deep into old age, achieved without a single hospital, antibiotic, or pair of reading glasses anywhere in the world. So what made surviving to 70 possible inside a small band of 25 to 50 people who all needed every member contributing something real? Old people offered something nobody else in the group could replicate. They were the database. With no writing, no libraries, and no way to externalize knowledge, the accumulated survival wisdom of a group existed in exactly one place: the minds of people who had lived long enough to acquire it. Where reliable water sources were during a drought, which plants cured fever or caused violent cramps, how to set a broken bone so it healed functional rather than crippled, what sky color and wind behavior meant for weather days out, and what the group had done the last time a similar crisis occurred. None of it was written down anywhere, surviving instead through deliberate oral narrative passed from those who knew it to those who needed it. An elder who had survived 60 years of seasons, droughts, and conflicts was not a drain on resources. They were, in the most literal sense, the group's library, physician, weather station, and strategic planner combined into one person sitting by the fire. Among the Hadza of northern Tanzania, one of the last surviving hunter-gatherer cultures, anthropologists studying the group in the 1980s noticed something surprising. Elderly women past reproductive age were among the most consistently productive foragers in the entire community, working longer hours and contributing more calories to children than almost anyone else. This observation helped launch the grandmother hypothesis, the idea that human menopause is not a biological malfunction, but a deliberate adaptive trade. Older women stop investing energy in their own reproduction and redirect it toward grandchildren already alive, increasing the spread of their genes not through direct multiplication, but by improving the survival odds of copies already in circulation. Data from the Hadza and other hunter-gatherer populations consistently shows children with active grandmothers have measurably higher survival rates. Anthropologist Kristen Hawkes at the University of Utah argues this dynamic may explain why humans live as long as we do at all. Groups with more surviving grandmothers had a survival advantage, and over deep evolutionary time, the genes associated with slower aging in women spread, possibly stretching the human lifespan for the entire species. Shanidar 1. The Neanderthal who was kept alive. In 1957, archaeologist Ralph Selecki excavated Shanidar cave in what is now northern Iraq, uncovering the remains of a Neanderthal male who died between ages 35 and 45, genuinely old for the Pleistocene. His age was almost the least remarkable thing about him. Early in life, Shanidar I suffered a crushing facial impact that likely blinded his left eye and caused partial paralysis down his right side, leaving his right arm withered, possibly amputated above the elbow. A healed fracture in his right foot would have produced a permanent limp, and bony growths in his ear canal suggest significant hearing loss. He had one functional arm, was partially or fully blind in one eye, walked with a pronounced limp, and lived with all of it simultaneously for somewhere between 10 and 15 years, based on how thoroughly his injuries had healed by the time he died. Archaeologist Penny Spickens at the University of York, who reviewed injury patterns across more than 30 Neanderthal skeletons, put it plainly: it is essentially impossible to imagine Shanidar I contributing meaningfully to hunting or foraging. He represented a significant net cost to the people around him, and they kept him alive for over a decade anyway. His bones show he was fed, helped to move, and cared for deliberately by people who had every option to leave him behind and chose not to. He is not an isolated case either. Individuals at La Pharisee and La Chapelle aux Saints show similar evidence of surviving injuries that would have been fatal without sustained care, fully healed broken limbs, and long-managed degenerative conditions. Chemical evidence suggests this care extended to plant-based treatment. Mineralized dental plaque from Neanderthal teeth at multiple sites contains traces of yarrow, groundsel, and ephedra, plants with no nutritional value but real anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and analgesic properties, the same plants that appear independently in traditional medicine systems across cultures that never had contact with each other. That knowledge of which plants helped a sick or injured body does not appear from nowhere. It accumulates and transmits across time through exactly the kind of people who had seen illness and injury before and learned what worked. How old people built human civilization. Around 30,000 years ago, something shifted dramatically. A study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences examined dental wear patterns across successive samples of hominid fossils and found the ratio of older to younger adults had been gradually increasing across human evolution. But at the transition into the early Upper Paleolithic, that increase suddenly accelerated, with far more people surviving into genuine old age than at any prior point in the fossil record. Immediately afterward, the archaeological record lights up with sophisticated cave art, burials with grave goods, long-distance trade networks, specialized toolkits, musical instruments, and personal ornamentation, the full suite of behaviors archaeologists call behavioral modernity. The researchers behind that study argue this is not coincidental. More old people meant more accumulated knowledge present in every group, leading to better decisions, better resource management, better skill transmission, and better survival rates for children, which in turn produced larger, more stable, more interconnected populations where innovations spread faster. The cultural explosion of the Upper Paleolithic may have been powered less by a sudden leap in raw intelligence and more by a demographic shift that finally put enough experienced elders in the room. The aging brain itself appears built for exactly this role. Processing speed slows and rapid memory retrieval becomes less sharp with age, but pattern recognition, built from decades of experience, contextual judgment in complex situations, and the ability to recognize a current crisis as similar to a past one tend to plateau or even improve well into old age. If this changed how you think about aging and prehistoric life, hit like on this video, subscribe for more deep dives into human evolution, and drop a comment with the detail that surprised you most.